he was the first driver to figure it out. How's that, Heather?
I, strangely enough, don't necessarily disagree with you on that.
Oh, that's got to kill it.
The Justin Fuente era got off to a bit of a rocky start. Virginia Tech was down 13-10 in the second quarter, but then a couple of Gerard Evans touchdowns put Virginia Tech up for good.
A new name is about to be added to these legends. People like Carol Yarborough and Richard Petty and our old friend D.W. live here.
Now you're about to see a little bit of history. The first completed pass in the history of Bristol Motor Speedway. Adam Rust, the purchasing director here at BMS. Nice catch, big fella.
Now, even though this game was played here in Charlotte at a neutral site, it definitely felt more like a home game for Virginia Tech.
The year, 1963. A new diet drink called Tab is all the rage. Canton inducted its first class into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And 4 boys from Liverpool made a record and prepared to invade America.
She says she loves you, and you know that can't be bad. She loves.
There was another invasion that year. The University of Tennessee came to Johnson City and slipped away in the night with a 1-point win. Coach Ray Mears said they would never be back, and they haven't returned until now. It's been over 20,000 days, 672 months. Tonight, the Volunteers return to Johnson City, and this time the Bucs are determined to protect their home court.
It's going to be a battle. It's going to be a battle. 2 really good teams going to go at it.
The Tennessee Vols versus the ETSU Buccaneers. It's time for the showdown in East Tennessee. It's called the Last Great Coliseum, where gladiators wrapped in steel do battle twice a year. But tonight, a new set of warriors gets set to do battle, wrapped in a different armor, but ready to fight for the ultimate prize.
I'm excited for those guys, on both teams, and yeah, that's something these guys will never forget.
Tennessee, Virginia Tech, they call it the Battle at Bristol. It's more than just a football game.
It was something that we could also use in recruiting in terms of what a great opportunity for a prospective student athlete at the time to be a part of the biggest game ever.
It should be a fun event with, centered around 2 historically prominent football programs doing battle on the field.
There is nothing like the feeling you get when you first enter Bristol Motor Speedway.
When you walk across the racetrack, when they open the gates on, Friday morning most of the time, and you look around and you take it all in, and you go, holy cow, this place is just, a better word for it than badass.
And drivers say there is nothing like winning here.
Bristol's it's Bristol. It's just such a legendary racetrack, and it's so exciting. I mean, it's so intense. Wins there are just really special.
This place is not for the faint of heart.
The way that I've had success there in the past is to respect the track, but at the same time know when you have to attack.
And it can make even the biggest name drivers feel small.
The first time you walk into that place and you see those banked, how highly banked the turns are, it's intimidating.
When this thing gets rolling, it's not a race.
It's Bristol, baby.
3 straight bowl wins. That's impressive no matter who you are or where you play.
The last time that happened was when Peyton Manning was the quarterback, 1994 to 1996.
It is a perfect night for football in Florida. A little windy, as you can probably tell from my hair. Not sure if that'll make a difference in this game later on tonight, especially if it comes down to a field goal.
And a reason for that lopsided result was Miami's ability to hit the home run play.
Kind of feels like turn back the clock here in Johnson City tonight. For the first time in 2 years, we were playing basketball in the mini dome.
As we continue our all access with ETSU basketball as they get ready to take on the Vols later tonight, it's time for a full court practice for the Bucs here at Freedom Hall, the site of the game on Thursday night.
Thought we had a good morning. Let's have a great afternoon.
For the first time in 53 years, Tennessee's made the trek to Johnson City to take on the ETSU Buccaneers in front of a sellout here at Freedom Hall. How you doing? I'm Jay Sandos alongside Casey Getz. Bradford, there's a little teardrop shot out of downtown.
That's what Bradford can do so well, especially at the end of that Mississippi State game. They're basically saying clear out. Bradford was going one-on-one. He needs to do more of that here.
Pioneers and UVA-Wise are just about 10 minutes from kickoff of their football season.
The ETSU men's golf team can now turn their attention to getting ready for the NCAA regionals next week. This is nothing new for Fred Warren and his Bucks.
Friday Night Huddle.
Welcome into Friday Night Huddle. Casey Getz alongside Heather Williams. And high school football, Heather, is a great appetizer for tomorrow's Battle of Bristol between Tennessee and Virginia.
Casey, to say that the Happy Valley's offense has been rolling to start the season might be a little bit of an understatement.
This is back to October 21st. I know Dakota Humphrey was hurt in that game. I don't think he can make up 42 points, though.
I think if Happy Valley was playing just about anyone else, I might give them a chance. But when you look at what Austin East did against Hampton and what Happy Valley did against Hampton, it's hard to not pick the Roadrunners.
Every time Happy Valley quarterback Sage Hahn puts on the number 16, it's special.
Joe Montana, that's why I wear number 16. My dad has always been a big 49ers fan.
Congratulations to Happy Valley Sage Hahn, this week's News 5 Player of the Week.
A year ago, no public school had ever won a Class AA championship in girls soccer. Today, the Green Devils made it back-to-back titles.
After the state quarterfinals, it was Shoney's. After the state semifinals, Olive Garden. Senior Peyton Williams says after winning a state championship, they're going to eat somewhere fancy. The Marion Scarlet Hurricanes have been here before. They finished runners-up in Group 2A a season ago. And one thing was for sure, they did not want to feel the experience of coming up short again.
Day 3 of the Arby's Classic, the longest day of the tournament. 8 games on the schedule. Last night, Gate City lost a close one to Wings Academy out of the Bronx, 66-62. Blue Devils back in action this afternoon against Sandy Creek, Georgia. And just like last night, Gate City involved another great game today. It's not like a broken arm. It's a physical where everybody can see it. When you mentioned it's so different with everybody with concussion, how hard was it to explain that to other people, to kind of what you were going through?
Well, it's hard because it changes daily, and you're right, you can't look at someone and see that.
Does Colossus play into this at all? Like, if you were leading the race, could you look up and see if anybody was close behind you?
At Bristol, if I've got enough time to look up and watch a TV, I'm not doing my job on the racetrack.
I wanted to know how they got it done, so I went behind the scenes at the Performance Racing Network. The broadcast seems like it is part ballet.
Let's go back down to O'Reilly Auto Parts pit reporter Wendy Venturini.
And part stampede.
Carl Edwards is in the wall. He's hammered by Kurt Busch off the back straightaway.
You just kind of develop verbal choreography.
Tony Stewart's a smart guy. You know, he's a racer's racer. So you figure when he was looking around for guys that were going to replace him, he's going to hire a racer's racer.
As late as it is in my career, I have the best opportunity I've ever had in my life, ever.
It's only fitting that Bristol's next big toy, Colossus, and it is definitely living up to its name. Each screen on Colossus is 63 feet wide and 3 stories tall. The total weight is nearly 700 tons.
That thing's scary.
Tommy Johnson Jr., funny car driver. How was qualifying for you today?
Not bad. Win number 76 3 weeks ago in Atlanta tied him with Dale Earnhardt for 7th all time.
You know, I knew that day was coming, and we were close to tying Dale.
I am now joined by Greg Biffle, driver of the number 16 Ford in the Sprint Cup Series. First of all, Greg, welcome to Bristol. What are you most looking forward to in the night race this year?
For the Knoxville Holstons, leading off, Augie, at the ditch. 9.
It's the history of America's pastime, live and in living color.
So we're part of the Tennessee Association of Vintage Baseball. There's 11 teams across the state that play by the rules of 1864.
The Holstons and the Machinists first played in Knoxville 149 years ago. They brought their rivalry to Piney Flats to help show how much the game has changed.
In the 1864 game, it was a very offense-driven game. The pitcher is supposed to feed the ball to the batter, and the honor was won in the field on defensive play.
The game today is going to be a more gentleman game. You'll see a lot more politeness, I think, on the field. People congratulating each other on good plays, good hits, well struck.
2 hands down.
Every detail is as it was in the 1860s.
In the vintage bat, the only rule in the rule book for 1864 is that the bat couldn't exceed 2 1/4 inches in diameter. So the bat can be any length, any shape. It's going to look like the modern game of baseball, but there's a few wrinkles back to the 1864 rule book. First, it's barehanded, so we don't have gloves. And the second big rule is that we can catch the ball on the bound for an out.
Bringing to life the evolution of the sport.
So we hope they really get a sense that they're back in 1864 and seeing the national pastime in its infancy and how it was meant to be played.
And showing just how far the game of baseball has come. Getting the facts right in Piney Flats. Heather Williams, News 5 WCYB.
The Hatch brothers started their printing business in 1879. Now located in the basement of the Country Music Hall of Fame, they still use handmade metal type and wooden blocks to create the iconic poster look. The Ryman Auditorium is a big customer, and Willie Nelson, one of its best clients. Everything here is old school. I suppose it makes sense for an old school racetrack to go old school when it comes to posters. Why'd you get this idea, Jerry?
Well, it was our PR team came up with this. I thought it was a great idea. Old school racetrack, our biggest year ever in 2016. It's only appropriate that we go back to our roots some.
Devin Goebel is the designer of the poster. He tried to make it the perfect blend of art and information.
Yeah, there's a bit more of kind of like an art print sort of commemorative item, where this is kind of like it still serves as a commemorative item for the race, but also
informative as well.
So informative.
And you're going to have these posters available. You're not sure what all you're going to do with them, but collectors probably will get a chance to get their hands on these if they want them.
Yeah, we'll put some out there. We'll have them around.
This poster is one of 6 that BMS will release throughout 2016. Getting the facts right in Nashville, PJ Johnson, News 5.
Growing up in Ohio, it was easy for people to have some fun with Dylan Weigel's last name.
Nobody in my hometown had a similar last name. You know, everybody joked about my last name being like Wiggle, calling me Wiggle and stuff from the family show. They loved that. That was a big joke.
Weigel came to ETSU to play football. News of his commitment quickly traveled to Sullivan South High School, where there was a kid named Dylan Wigger.
When the recruiting class was announced, I was at a basketball game at my high school, and I had 3 or 4 people come up to me and congratulate me on my commitment to play football at ETSU, and it kind of took me by surprise, and I had to start looking around, asking questions, and once I figured out what it was a little bit of a relief.
A year later, Wigger would actually commit to playing football at ETSU, giving head coach Carl Torbush a Dylan Weigel and a Dylan Wigger.
My biggest difference is there's a Weigel's milk down in Knoxville. I kind of keep them separated.
The confusion doesn't end with coach. This past season, people would come up to the parents of Dylan Wigger, congratulating them on their son's game. The only problem was he was redshirting as a quarterback while Dylan Weigel was leading the country in tackles.
At first it was kind of tedious to explain, no, I wasn't playing linebacker and that wasn't me, but then after a little while, since he was doing well, I just started accepting it and telling everybody thank you.
In addition to the confusion on the football field, there's also confusion over the Dylans in the biology department.
Him and I have been good buddies ever since we came down here, being in the same major. We take most of the same classes.
Well, I went into the advising office to schedule my classes for next semester, and they looked at me and they looked my name up and they said, haven't you been here already today? And I had to explain to them, no, that was somebody else.
So here's a public service announcement for everyone. Dylan Wigger is on the left, Dylan Weigel is on the right. Now that we have that figured out, it's time to move on to something else, like spelling their names. Can you spell his last name?
Yeah, W-E-I-G-E-R.
Nope. Before you. All right, take number 2 here.
W-I-E-G-E-R.
Can you spell his last name?
W-E-I-G-E-L.
Nice.
We've been working on this for about a year now.
James Pearson is the executive chef at Levy Restaurants, the company overseeing the catering at Bristol Motor Speedway this weekend. Pearson and his team are planning on making more than 50,000 pounds of food. That includes 25,000 pounds of hot dogs, more than 16,000 pounds of hamburgers, 3,500 pounds of chicken wings, nearly 50,000 soft pretzels, and that doesn't even include their specialty game day items.
We're doing the turkey leg, so that's a staple for the Hokies. And for the UT fans, we have what they call the Old Smoky Dog, which is an all-beef hot dog with cheese sauce on it.
And feeding 200,000 people over the course of the weekend is just one of the tasks Levy Restaurants has to deal with. The other is making sure nobody gets thirsty, and they do that with a whole lot of beer.
It took us almost 8 hours to unload that amount of beer on Tuesday and get it off the trucks.
The amount he's talking about is 545,000 cans and bottles of beer. Pearson says his team came up with that amount by studying previous Super Bowls and SEC championship games, and then they came up with a specific guest average. And if you're too young to drink the beer, don't worry. They expect to sell 150,000 Pepsi products as well. Getting the facts right in Bristol, Mike Lucas, News 5 WCYB.